Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Let's talk about money. Lots of it. And what to do with it. With women now controlling about 30% of global private wealth and projected to exceed 50% in the next 5 years, the conversation around money and women is being rewritten. So I want to know what financial independence really looks like and how women everywhere can grow and protect their wealth. I'm Samantha Johnson, and this is Now You Know, a safe space where we go all in on stories about women, so by the end of each episode, you can say, now I know. Cristina Jaeger is a leading voice when it comes to closing the gender, wealth and investing gap. And that's no easy feat. Through her work with institutions such as UBS and VP Bank AG, and her recently founded HerFinancialFreedom course, she's inspiring women to become more financially literate. So, Cristina, thank you so much for joining us on Now You Know.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, you shining a light on this important topic.
Tell us how you got into the financial industry, what your journey is, and when you had that, that spark of inspiration to say, you know what, I need to help more women get more financially literate.
Yes, for me, it started when I was super young. My dad was already a banker, so I got influenced by him. I always wanted to work, in international finance centers of the world. So I got inspired, since I can think of, to become a banker. My mom already told me, I remember her saying, with the finger raised, Christina, you will never be dependent on a man. So I think I had both values that I'm now conveying, like being a banker and being independent, installed very early in me. And that's what I went to do. I started my career in Europe, in like Luxembourg, Frankfurt, Zurich. And then I went on later to Asia, to really the financial centers in the world, like Hong Kong, Singapore. And it was an amazing career. And then, as an expat, you hit your 30s and then doing brunches, aperos, like just having a lot of women around. And then they started asking me, hey, Christina, now we hit our 30s, we have some money saved. Like, what do we actually do with this money? Like, you are an expert, you must know. So I don't know, after they asked me several times, I'm like, ladies, it's super hard to explain everything that I've learned over 13, 14 years in the finance space over a glass of Prosecco. So how can I convey the knowledge that I have in a structured format? And this is actually how HerFinancialFreedom started. We said, okay, let's meet, 4 evenings in a row. Let's talk finance and let's break this barrier of not talking about finance. Let's exchange. What are we doing with our money? What are solutions that we can think of how to have a better retirement? Because especially when you're an expat or when you have lived in several countries, you cannot rely on one pension system to secure your retirement. And so seeing also the big gaps in how women talk money, how men talk money, how men invest, how women invest. I think this really opened my eyes because we have massive gaps and it shocked me so much. And I'm like, how can I be part of the solution that women can also have these independent lives that I'm striving for?
Well, talk to me about that gap. I mean, what have you noticed about the patterns of men and women talking about investing?
So 8 of 10 women are opting out of the money conversation at all. Can you imagine? Because they say it feels too uncomfortable, they know too little about it. Maybe it's also a topic that is just not discussed in many cultures, right? And we also know that the gap of investors is huge when it comes to comparing how many men invest on the stock exchange versus how many women invest on the stock exchange. So we can definitely, with a lot of activation, raising awareness, giving education, increase that number so we can secure our retirement, our financial dreams and goals.
I think overall, there is a positive shift when it comes to women and investing. For example, look at the women in the US when it comes to their personal wealth. You've got 50% of women now taking control of that. I mean, what's behind it? And do you see other positive shifts globally?
I can definitely see a trend of, yes, we want to talk about money. Yes, we want to talk about finance financially. They're having their own jobs, having their own career. Also, women are the greatest beneficiaries of maybe you've heard that term, the great wealth transfer. 2/3 of the great wealth transfer that, the older generation inherits money to the next generation is going through the hands of women. They inherit the money maybe as the wives, right, of the deceased, or as the daughters. So more capital will flow in the hands of women. So at the moment, the worldwide capital allocation is only 1/3 in the hands of women, but this will change over the next decades. So I think with this movement or this development, there needs to be more awareness and more education on talking about money, investing, securing also your financial future. Because what happens if you have money sitting on your bank account? Let's say in the US, 15 years ago, you have put roughly 15K in your cash account. Now, this money is worth 10K.
Wow.
And people think, oh, my money in my bank account that I see with my eyes is safe. But it's losing, continuously every day in value. But people don't see the drop of the amount. So if by investing you can generate some return, you're at least putting off inflation. Or if you have more return, then at least also your money is growing. That's what we want. But what I want to say is you cannot start early enough to invest. And even with the smallest amounts, like $20, 25, 50, even if you would have been a student, 15 per month, because if you have a lot of time in the market and your money has a lot of time to grow, it is so valuable. So I'm always wondering, how can I catch also women earlier in their lives to have this awareness of the importance of the topic, start investing, instead of, oh, retirement comes close, I should actually take care of my finances. And then you're mid-50s and you don't have so much time left in the market, right? So I'm not saying it's ever too late to start investing. You can literally start when you're 70, but the earlier, the better.
Okay, we'll get into where we can put our money, where we can invest our money a little later on. But I kind of want to go back to, the point of, okay, we know the attitudes in, the Western world, for example, the US and their stats. But what about when it comes to, different cultures? I mean, what's their attitude when it comes to spending, saving, investing?
I think everywhere it's, you don't ask numbers. You would never go out and say, oh, Samantha, how much are you actually earning? So people always think if I talk about money, I need to ask concrete and very personal numbers and figures. This is also what I want to show. You don't. You could ask, hey, Sam, how are you investing for your retirement? Which broker are you using? What was the latest investment you made? Hey, I'm having a review coming up at work. How can I negotiate my salary and increase it so I can actually increase my savings and investments? There are so many low entry hurdles talking about money that can empower each other, especially amongst women, so we can share knowledge without talking very personal information that you might not be feeling so comfortable to talk about. And in Germany, for example, we have a culture of, if you have a lot of wealth, then you are like a bad person or something. I have a lot of clients that have to overcome a limiting belief of, if you have money, you're a bad person. Quite interesting. And then
where does that stem from?
I cannot tell you where it comes from, but I can tell you that, for example, in the US, it's different. So in the US, we always say, if you have success, then you can also show it. But in Germany or also in Switzerland, you would rather try to, okay, I'm wealthy, but I keep it for myself. And also, because you asked me about the stereotypes of men and women, or the biases towards money, it's quite interesting that we see that women, we are already raised as girls to see rather money as like a safety option, right? Like we keep it, we are good actually in saving, but we never think about the long-term effects of our behavior now. Versus men and boys, if you see how they are educated from little boys, like to dare, to be brave, to try, to take risk and chances. We see also that men become entrepreneurs at a younger age versus women. They then try it, maybe if they even dare, when they're a bit older, when the kids are a bit older. So it's very interesting, the different approaches, how we are raised in general as genders. Women, we need to be kind and nice, and we're maybe a bit shy because it's not seen in a good way if we negotiate hard, if we demand things, versus then men and boys who are, going out there and they are seen as, wow, he's really dedicated and he wants to achieve something.
So, Cristina, what are the steps women can take to build their financial independence, no matter where they live?
Let's look at it from super low barrier to a bit higher barrier. Okay, super low barrier is literally start talking about money. Every situation you can, every person you feel the trust you can, or find spaces, communities where you can exchange about money. We need to kind of brainwash ourselves to become more confident in that space. So be part of the conversation. Instagram, TikTok, podcasts, your friends, communities. Second is take a whole as-is situation, take note of your financial situation. For example, we developed a finance tracker that you can fill in to really get an overview of what do I actually have? What do I owe? How do I spend? A lot of women say, oh, I'm actually spending unconsciously. And at the end of the month, I'm checking how much is left and maybe there's nothing left. We can reverse that whole situation and saying, first, we ensure that we have parts of it away in our savings or investments bucket, and then we deal with our spending. So it's really getting a glimpse into what is actually my situation, creating this awareness.
So breaking it down, like how much do I spend a month? What am I spending it on? Just literally just sitting down and noting everything?
Exactly. And it might feel tedious to do that. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. It is scary, and
they say that it's kind of like just notifying or highlighting your life in that month. Like, oh my gosh, I just spent X amount on takeaway food. Oh, I just spent X amount on a pair of shoes. Oh, this money's just kind of flying out to another. It really does hold up a mirror into your life.
Yes, do it because it will bring so much to light. How can you make that less scary? For example, in my program, and I always try psychologically, what effect does it have? Because I want to make finances fun, motivating, an empowerment tool actually that we hold in our own hands. So if you do your budget without having some, let's say, direction in mind, it's exactly like you said, oh, I spend actually on shoes, on clothing, on traveling, on takeaway food, etc. So it's very important to not only do just a simple budget analysis, but tying it in with your priorities in life. So for example, in my program, we will define what are your goals, what are your priorities, because I want you to feel amazing about your budget and not daunting and, oh my God, I spent too much. No, it's an empowerment tool, how I can decide on what I spend and define the life I want. How amazing is that? Good. So now we have an overview of what we have. And then the next step is really to start investing. Learn about investing, taking super small steps, open a brokerage account, maybe placing 20 or 50 bucks in an exchange traded fund, for example. It's about losing the fear of investing.
So you just mentioned brokerage accounts. 1, what is it? 2, what do we look out for if we want to open one?
Yeah, very important question. So a broker gives me access to the capital markets. And a broker is what I need in order to buy any investment on the stock exchange, because a broker has a license. I don't have a license to participate in the capital markets, in the stock market. So I can open a broker, I'm just naming there's no affiliate or something, but Interactive Broker or in the US, Charles Schwab, or in Asia, SoFi. It's like brokerage platforms that give me their license, open an account in my name, so I can buy an exchange-traded fund, a stock, a bond, any fund, and even participate in a stock exchange.
Can you open more than one account? One that's based in Asia, another one that's based in the US. Can you do both or?
Yes, you can definitely open more than one brokerage account. And maybe let me shine a bit on the light that I learned when working with really wealthy clients, right? How the growth of money is usually you start with a broker, you have a bit more wealth, then you maybe go to a direct bank because you want to have the direct contact. Then once the wealth grows, we're talking about a few million, they start, I should open a brokerage account also overseas. So what you see is with the growing wealth, your amount of brokers will grow and your amount of locations where you hold wealth will grow because we're talking about diversification. But if we talk about smaller amounts, just start opening a broker in the domicile you live, right? So if I live in Switzerland, I open a broker in Switzerland. You can literally Google broker Switzerland. If you live in Dubai, you Google broker Dubai. If you live in Hong Kong, you Google best broker in Hong Kong.
Cristina, a lot of women are going to be so happy listening to you. I can tell you that now. Is there a difference in financial models?
Oh, there's a huge difference in financial models. And I rarely see, or I've not ever seen education about what are the different financial models that are offered. And this is what I want to achieve. In the end, I just want to enable women with the knowledge and the tools to make choices around the different financial models. There are a lot of influencers that say, all banks are bad and they just want to take your money and never buy products from them. I don't want to say that. I want to say, here are all the financial models that you can choose from based on your life. Maybe you have a busy career, a busy family, and based on your finances, choose the model that suits you. For example, we were talking about online brokers. An online broker, what does it mean? I literally open my laptop or my phone, open a broker. I make decisions on what to invest in. I need to do the research. I need to get the knowledge and education to feel comfortable to make an investment decision. That's an online broker. You do everything yourself. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want a financial advisor and go to her and ask her, this is my financial situation. Why don't you recommend me something? So I pay a bit more, but I pay a financial advisor so she can support me on my own financial situation and the decisions I make. Then there's also what's called wealth managers. I give them a bundle of money and I tell them, handle that wealth for me. I define with them a strategy.
Yeah. You got to be able to trust those people as well.
You got to be exactly able to trust those. You need to check on the fees, on the strategies they offer. Maybe you negotiate the fees. So there are various models. I was talking about a robo-advisor. This is a very new form of managing your money. You give to a robo-advisor parts of your wealth and they manage it for you. Obviously, the costs are then a bit lower than if a person manages it. But you also, again here, do I trust AI? What do I need to look out for? Should be a licensed, authorized, a licensed broker or a robo-advisor that is regulated by the regulator in your country.
How has AI shaped women and finance?
With AI, you're opening a huge Pandora box because AI is highly biased. Maybe let's look at first how AI shapes, let's say, the financial world. It gives us access to more cost-efficient products, like we mentioned the service models, right? So we could have access now to, they are called robo-advisors, to AI models that manage our wealth. Men and women, right? It doesn't matter. So AI helps us to lower the entry barriers participating in the financial markets. This is statement number one. Then if we look at gender lens, AI is highly biased. It kind of leverages a bias on women, on gender. If you look who's behind, like the coders, etc., right? It's very biased. Women are Also, if you look at the amount of users that are female and male, way more male users are using AI also. And this is how the systems learn. So it amplifies even the effect of the bias. So I always try to be vocal about in my female communities, use AI as much as you can, because otherwise it will not learn from us. If we take ourselves out of the equation, we will not be part of how the AI is fed.
The fact that you said being part of the AI conversation will affect the AI algorithm, that's really powerful. And I never thought of it like that. I mean, I use AI a lot. It feels like, okay, so we're having physical conversations about, money. Okay, that's 2 steps forward. But oh my gosh, we need to talk about AI as well. We need to get involved in it a lot more so it affects us in a more positive way. That's another thing we have to do as women. We really have to keep the conversation going on so many levels.
That's what it's all about. Start the conversation, keep the conversation going, search for safe spaces where you can also ask all your questions that you otherwise never dare to ask. I have the smartest women talking to me saying, I feel so embarrassed to ask this, or I feel so ashamed to ask this. And then they ask the question. So there's this whole confidence that we have to build, and we can build. That's the beauty. We can build this confidence when we talk about money, exchange about money, investments, brokers, because we all have the same questions.
And finally, Cristina, why should financial independence be important for women?
Financial independence is important for women because everything that you want to reach in your life, everything, every goal, every dream is based on your financial situation. Even if we're talking about health, even if we talk about early retirement or just a fair retirement, living an okayish life when I'm retired. If you want to own something, if you want to send your kids to private school, or if you want to send your kids abroad, if you want to inherit something to your kids, every goal and dream you can have in your life is based on your financial situation. So financial independence gives you a tool of independence, of empowerment, making your own choices.
A lot of women are going to be happy listening to this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on Now You Know.
Thank you so much for shining a light on this important topic. I appreciate it.
I hope this conversation has been insightful for you as well. So please share your thoughts. And if you have stories you'd like us to explore on Now You Know, just let us know in the comments. Thanks a lot. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Now You Know.